Welcome to Free Beer Friday, powered in part by Classic of Dim.
Ooh, that was so greatly timed.
Well done. Well done.
That was
This
really
guy.
cute.
Guys.
That was really cute. I can't even say hi now because it's so cute.
That was fantastic.
It was great.
Oh,
really
stop
fantastic.
it, you
All right,
guys.
the show's done. We're doing
Yeah. Bye. See you next week. Your host, as always, on Free Beer Friday, Ben Easley from the Bearded Monk. Am I branded today?
No, you're witchcraft.
You're always branded.
Oh, am I wearing my
always-
witchcraft hat?
Yeah, dog.
Witchcraft. Yeah, I love that place. And then
Ooh.
my co-host, Jen, the Bearded Lady.
Hey. I'm branded too. Also.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Mine's kind of awkward. Yours.
Yeah. I can even be on that side. You can be on this side.
Hey,
You gotta
okay.
get branded.
Oh, yeah.
can't wait, you
Okay.
gotta get
You gotta
Yeah.
get-
Y'all
you
gotta get
branded.
tats.
Yeah.
Tats. All right.
We are here with.
Introduce yourselves.
Funky Picnic. So
What?
I'm Samantha Glenn.
And I am 2 seconds behind. My name is Michael Harper. I'm branded here with the state of Texas.
Yes, the great state.
Heck yes. Heck yes, the great state of Texas.
Okay, give us the rundown. What is Funky Picnic? I mean, these people know it's a brewery.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
they're watching the show, they know
Step
that
one.
much. Yeah.
So Funky Picnic is a brewery and cafe, and we're opening in Fort Worth, Texas. So we really are focused on partnering beer and food, which I really think is more where a lot of the newer breweries opening up need to go. So we're going to have a full kitchen with sandwiches, appetizers, simple desserts, kind of a picnic fare type menu. And then a 7-barrel brew house, and we'll make all our beers and only serve our beers in-house. And that's what's going on. And Michael is Michael Harper here. I call him Harper because everyone's named Michael.
Too many white dudes with beards named Michael.
Yeah.
So he's our
beer.
head
Beer
brewer and is tasked with setting up our brewery and making a lot of beers. We want to have 12 to 15 beers on tap.
Wow.
Golly, on a 7-barrel system.
We also have a 1-barrel system on the way.
And that will be very helpful.
Yes.
Right on.
That will be very helpful.
And we're looking to open in May.
Very nice.
Oh, this is going to be so
I'm
quick.
excited.
Yeah. Okay, what do
It's
you
right
got?
around the corner. What? Oh, me? What?
Yeah.
What do I
Do you
got?
got a question
yeah,
for these
of course
people?
I do.
Yeah.
What are you concocting right now?
Let's see. Right now, kind of going off of what Samantha said, we want to make sure that we're, pairing our food and our beer together and making sure that, there's not like one star of the show, that everything's kind of harmonious and working together. So, in terms of, making like a great, chocolate stout that can kind of pair with a dessert, making something kind of like a light, easy drinking lager that can kind of pair with maybe like a tomato basil thing. I also want to do a barley wine that can kind of pair with like a pumpernickel sandwich, like on a pumpernickel bread.
Nice.
Anything I can do to kind of pair that in. That's one thing. We were talking to somebody the other day and just discussing about how many flavors there are involved in beer. Both with, your 4 ingredients, your water, your malt, your yeast, and your hops, but also just the kind of ingredients that we can work with in the kitchen. So if we're talking about fresh produce, if we're talking about, great, like salami and prosciutto made in-house, if we're talking about, different kinds of breads that we can use, the bread even comes with its own fermentation sort of flavors. So like a gently.
Don't spill any like we did right before the show.
So like even the flavors of like, even like nutty flavors
you
of
want some
rye,
too.
or even if
Yeah.
we've got like a dark, like earthy pumpernickel, like anything we can do to kind of like tie all of these things together,
Nice.
Good.
I think would be great.
Okay, I'm getting so hungry right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, dog.
Well, and one of
It
the
is-
things
Cheers.
I really want to do also is with those, with all that bread, is pulling in spent grain, really pulling the brewing ingredients into the kitchen.
Ooh. To make bread? Oh my gosh, it's so good. I've had some
Yes.
like spent grain bread. It's so tasty. That's gonna be delicious.
Yeah, so having that, doing beer butter, using the beer in the sauces.
Wait, beer butter.
Yeah.
I have never encountered this before.
We worked with a baker who, for one of our presentations when we were early on, really still finalizing our business plan, trying to get some financing, all of that. She made some spent grain bread for us, and then she made a lemongrass IPA butter and a stout butter.
Oh my god.
And some people loved that lemongrass IPA. I was in love with the stout, like the rich chocolatiness with the butter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like this much of it. I had like a big
Like, I'll take
container
the
of
whole
it,
thing.
Giant
and
jug.
I had to go share it so that I didn't die of a heart attack.
Right? It's like whenever you go to the hibachi places and they're like, it's ice cream. And you're like, oh my gosh. I just put so much butter on that fried rice. But thank you. It, you know, cleans out your arteries. So there you go. Lubricates them
That's
a
what the
little
beer is
bit.
for. It
Yeah.
washes it down.
Exactly. That sounds fantastic. I can't wait to see what else you come up with because there's so many things you can put together. Even like my mind is racing with like meats and like spices
Yeah.
and
That's
just
one of the things that I've had so much fun with is planning out beer dinners.
yeah.
And it's just phenomenal. When you talk to a chef, they're like, we can do anything.
Okay, you're
And
like,
then
I
they're
don't
like,
know.
so you choose beer. It's like, well, we can do anything on the beer side. Okay, well, what are we going to do here? Like, all right, let's just hang out and drink and eat, and let's decide it out. So I can only imagine what this kitchen is going
To
be
have
like.
that, well, and have it in house. So we're interviewing chefs right now and really trying to find that perfect fit. Since we didn't on the brewer.
You guys hear that?
You don't get it right the second time.
And then,
Just,
wait, are we?
just how easily you threw the shade.
Hey.
It just came so casually to you. Oh, you know, this guy.
Yeah. But that's kind of having that in house where they can constantly be working together and saying, you know, even just through the past year, we've gone to food shows and just tried to get more in tune with the restaurant industry and kind of all of the food vendors and stuff. And we'll go to a food show and, you know, it's like, oh, well, now we got a honey vendor. And now we got some Mexican vanilla that we can use. And like, I'm thinking beer.
Yeah.
Right?
You know, and I'm like, I know I'm
Naturally.
supposed to think about the kitchen too, but you know, and then we're going around and seeing all these like weird fruits, and it's like, ooh, gooseberries. That'd be interesting in a beer. You know? I'm like, what's the quantity of gooseberries we can get? It's gonna be a lot more for a
get 2
7-barrel
totes?
batch. Yeah.
Right?
Totes of gooseberry.
Gooseberry goza.
See, you already caught the vision.
Yeah.
Got
Got the
it.
vision.
Done. I'll help you guys. No, just kidding.
No, we'll consult you. Like
Yeah,
Shiner
for
has
sure.
a dewberry Berliner, I think. Like dewberries, like I mean, I grew up, you know, in Tyler, like just feasting on dewberries. It's essentially like a blackberry, but just harder.
Okay, I was like, what is
Okay.
a
So,
dewberry?
Yeah, it's just blackberry, but it's
yeah.
harder. But I mean, you know, being able to tie in anything local like that, and I'm a big like Texas guy, like, you know, Texas history guy, and so I want to be able to bring in any sort of those, you know, native elements as well, and just be like as, you know, local, but also like local, you know, to Texas, and you know,
Heck yeah.
anything I can do to bring in that kind of stuff too.
Some
It's just
tumbleweeds.
yeah, tumbleweed,
Yeah.
tumbleweed weed.
Have you? I'm sorry, I totally
Okay.
like stopped you, but it made me think of something. Have you guys seen the Oh gosh, I think it's right after the mash. I don't know what they did. It must be a spontaneous fermented something.
Okay.
But they are putting it through a tree.
Yes.
That
who
would
is
be
this?
so great. I've seen
It's
a
using
couple
a
of
tree
places.
as like your filter system.
Yeah.
It's supposed to give it like a flavor on the
It's
way
kind of like-
out. I don't know if it's after the mash into the boil, or I don't know if it's like to the fermenter.
Right. So I've seen it a couple ways. Probably to the fermenter would also work too, because sometimes there's just wild yeast like
Yeah.
Brettanomyces that will live in the wood.
Mm.
But then I've also seen people that will line the bottom of the mash tun, you know,
With-
with like juniper or spruce or pine.
Okay.
Maybe not pine, but juniper and spruce
So
and
it's
stuff like
just
that.
for the beauty of watching it. It
Yeah.
was very
Just, like,
pretty to watch
infuse
it.
all
I
that.
was like, oh my gosh, I don't know. This makes me
Right
feel
on.
so happy. I don't want.
That would be dope, and that's what I'm so excited about, being able to work, you know, hand in hand, you know, with the kitchen like that. Is, you know, the history that I've had in brewing is all very much, you know, make this. You know, it's about like we're cranking out the big flagships, you know, and there have been opportunities where I've been able to play and experiment and just kind of like flex the creative muscle. But with this one, I'm like, yeah, let's try it. That sounds like a lot of fun. Let's try that. You know, let's see, and if it might be great.
A ranch-inspired beer. Ranch dressing-inspired
Ranch
beer.
inspired.
Oh,
What?
what? Yeah, what?
Cer-
Both of us were like, ugh.
Some people
Certain
Okay.
fried pickles.
inspired.
People
Okay.
will dig
See,
this.
with fried pickles.
Okay, no, I feel like
Fried
we
pickles.
should
Put Vic's secret
address
in it, you'll be
too.
good. I'm just kidding.
Where, Harper, where did you come out of?
That's pretty good.
Where
sorry?
where have you been brewing in the past? Like, could you talk about some bigger batches and stuff?
My lawyer says I'm not allowed to.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough. You come
As
from
far
a
as you know, I come from the water.
sacred place. Texas reference.
Yeah.
Well played.
I've been around. I've been around like Fort Worth and Dallas for. Jeez, that was good. So quick. That was good. No, I've been around. I started out in Fort Worth. I was lucky enough to be able to go to the American Brewers Guild in Vermont and get a certification in intensive brewing sciences and engineering.
Wow.
It hurts my head saying that.
I was about to say, like, I saw you working through that.
Yeah.
Oh,
I got to
how do I
squint.
say this?
Yeah. I
Good inflection.
It's a long
anytime
name.
I'm able to say
Pronunciation.
that, I'm also just like in the back of my mind, like, see that, Mom? So I got a certification there doing that. Started out in Fort Worth, and then went to a couple different breweries in Dallas. Worked at Texas Ale Project for a minute. Spent some time at Community, and then most recently I was at Oak Highlands in far east Dallas. What I thought
Garland,
was
basically.
what I thought was like the furthest most brewery away from where I lived.
Oh,
So
okay, good.
Now I'm excited to be like super close to where I live and back in Fort Worth, which is a great city, as many cities in Texas are.
Right on. Right on. No, I dig Fort Worth. I'm
do
glad
too.
y'all are down there because that's a really fun
They have
area.
the law that you can drink on like the city premises as well. It's just like Denton.
Right? Just like us.
Yeah. It was
You
so
can
weird. I
drink
walked.
when you're walking around.
So you
I
know
was-
that's a state law.
Oh, it is.
But most cities have ordinances that don't allow you to do it.
What?
Oh,
Look at
there
this.
it is.
I know.
Every time I walk out, I'm just be like, "Hey, no, I can drink with this. Maybe is it okay with your city? I don't know."
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
That's crazy.
The state of Texas has the open container law that you can't walk on and off of licensed premises. The TABC doesn't allow that.
Yeah.
So it's not as
Like
loose
New
as
Orleans.
New Orleans,
Yeah.
where you can walk in and out of
You
establishments.
can walk in and get a shot of Jim Beam
Holding
and walk
someone
out
else's
of
beer.
something
Yeah.
on Bourbon Street and just start
Yeah,
drinking.
instead
Drink
you
the
have to
beer.
say, "Hold my beer," and go buy more, and then come back out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We all say "hold my beer"
Yeah,
in Texas.
yeah.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so weird in Fort Worth. I was like at a festival and I was walking out and I was like, "Hey, can I just like stand right there to take a picture?" And he was like, "You can go down the street if you want." And I'm like, "What?" It was a cop, and I was just like, "Are you sure, officer?" Like, and he's like, "Yeah, you can walk around wherever you want." And I'm like, "Okay." So it was really weird.
I appreciate you, sir.
Yeah,
Bye.
right. Thank you for your service.
Well, that's a big thing in Fort Worth. We have a few brew pubs, but you still have a lot of production breweries that we have. And with the current state laws, there's a lot going on right now down in Austin with trying to get those changed. And I know that they're working together. The distributors and the Texas Craft Brewers Guild are working together on trying to get
awesome.
stuff done. But what we're trying to do is get production breweries where they can actually sell some beers to go.
Yep.
Get buy a 6-pack at
going
your
into
production
house.
brewery. But brew pubs
Dang.
have
that's
always
going to
been
the house
allowed
this-
to do that.
yeah.
And for us, with our 7-barrel system, I know it sounds big. That's 14 full half-barrel kegs. If you're coming from the homebrew side, that sounds really big. But if you're coming from Oak Highlands, which had a 30-barrel,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so that's 60 kegs.
It's cute. I'm gonna put little googly eyes on it.
Aw.
Maybe a little furry tail
I
at
have
the back
some of
end.
those. They're like this big.
That'd be
Put
legit.
cat ears on it. Oh,
Please.
it's all these great ideas.
There's your brewery cat.
Oh, you got your brewery cat. Yay.
I kind of like that. I feel like, but I also feel like it's a
It's a little
compromise,
inconsequential when it comes to that.
and I want my
It's not
brewery.
the same.
Anyway,
So
It
out
worked.
there,
So yeah.
Funky Picnic wants to
ISO.
bring on a brewery cat. There you go.
Yeah.
Funky Picnic.
If anybody wants
ISO
to
brewery
adopt a cat, yeah.
Must be chill. Must like dogs.
Must hate people.
Aw, they all hate people.
True story.
Spoken like a real dog person.
Yes, I'm a dog. How'd you know? We have a dog in the
Yeah.
studio
I
right now,
know.
actually with us.
She's being so good.
We already have a
behind me.
brewery dog, so that's why Harper
Taco's
is
right-
advocating for a
Oh,
brewery cat just
she's
to
going
represent
nappies.
both sides.
I know we're talking about you right now.
Miss Taco, so
You
cute.
big
I
good
wish
girl.
you guys could
Oh.
see her. But it's okay.
She's like, oh,
Oh, hi. Yep.
But yeah,
I promise you there's actually a real dog right here.
giving me kisses.
Aw.
You good girl.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're a good girl.
Baby.
Okay, sorry.
But
Continue.
yeah, so with
Distraction.
with the 7-barrel system and with 1-barrel pilot system, we can fill those taps, but we're also going to serve almost everything directly to the customer.
Awesome.
We're not going to distribute, but we will have crowlers to go. So we can package it, and you can take your beer to the park. They're building a new park right behind our brewery.
Oh my gosh,
It's
that's so lucky.
called the Skinny. They're also going to be a dog park, which Taco's really excited about.
yeah,
Yeah.
she told me just now.
Somebody's
Yeah.
got to get to go play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
It's like more playing than here.
Right? I'm bored. Let me out.
He's trapped in a glass cage of emotions right now.
Drinking people.
But yeah, so you can take crawlers and take your picnic wherever. So we'll have sandwiches to go, we'll have beer to go, and we're all about Funky Picnic. Part of what we love is, so it's myself and 3 other founders, and we've all homebrewed for 5 or 6 years together and just started going to different things. I've kind of always thought that Fort Worth needed more brew pubs. And so I kind of was homebrewing so that I could learn more about how to make that happen. And
Right on.
finally convinced everybody else to do it.
So are you going to partake in brewing as well?
Huh?
Are you gonna partake
Well,
in
yeah.
brewing as well?
I mean, I like brewing, but there's just so many other things to running a business.
true.
And so I really wanted to hire a brewer that had that experience, hire a chef, and then I have management experience, and I have I'm a biomedical engineer, and so I'm really taking
Sweet.
I work in R&D at a medical device
Okay.
company. And
Yeah.
so I'm really taking what I've learned there. I was a manager for 4 years. I've worked in infrastructure and like setting up new things. I have to deal with FDA regulations. So like I'm not worried about
You're
dealing with the health
basically in the
department.
same industry.
Yeah. It
at
does the
this
same
point.
stuff. Like whenever it's biology, because I study biology too. It's very similar, not biomedical. I'm an engineer. I'm not as smart as you.
Sure you are.
Yeah, well, I didn't graduate with the smartness.
It's just almost as long as his
Exactly,
certification title.
exactly.
Oh, yeah. By certification,
Yeah.
I got a piece of paper.
Right.
It's real nice.
That's all I got too.
But it's so
it
close.
just was a lot more expensive.
Like
That's also true.
bio and chem are so hand in hand with brewing, like and physics. Another like and bio like thermodynamics. All of the sciences does brewing.
It does, and I have mostly I tend towards the mechanical side of
Yeah.
things, and that also has a lot. So I think that's where we're a little different. Is
What?
My hope of having a special limb attached to me. Like, I want a biomechanical limb.
Like an extra hand?
Yeah.
so
oh
you can
my
hold
gosh.
an extra beer.
Okay, I was
Yes. So I can do this with without having to use this hand.
like this?
Yeah. Oh wait, hold on. Show it how it works. Oh yes. Okay. Anyway, continue.
It can be a
Sorry.
tiny, like your strong arm. It's like a strong hand. I was like,
Someone like, and I'm on that. Like the Saturday Night Live thing. Remember that with Kristen Wiig?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And the scary movie.
Oh, the scary. That's
Oh,
the one.
yeah.
Yeah.
Take the strong. Whoa, so creepy.
Wow, we went way off the rails. I'm sorry.
It's
I am
okay.
so sorry. Continue.
okay.
Continue.
I don't even remember where we were. We're New Orleans. Is that where we were?
Right. Well, what do
Sure,
we drink?
why
We can
not?
talk about
It's
what
like-
we're
Are
drinking.
we in New
Mardi
Orleans?
Gras. We got some
No,
beads.
no, wait. I do want to say too, though.
I mean, you have to show some things for some beads and stuff.
I got
So
some beers.
you
Got
you
some
had
cans.
you had brought up that you had asked her, "Are you going to get in the brew house? Are you going to play?" You blew my mind when you won the Riverside Shootout.
We did.
That
so
thing was amazing, absolutely fantastic. And actually, your dad and I drank through quite a bit of that keg because he lives up here as well. And that's my mom has been to the Bearded Monk very rarely. She doesn't drink, but Thanksgiving Day, I'd forgotten to get beer. And I was like, I'm going to go fill up some growlers. And she was like, well, I'll come down with you. And I opened up the shop just so we can go in, and I filled a growler that. So Ben Webster and I could drink all day.
didn't
Yeah.
you finish the keg of that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we burned the keg that day. It was wonderful, wonderful. But you know what you're doing.
Yeah. So
You understand the biology and the chemistry.
well, and I'm not the only one. There are 4. We also had another friend that brewed with us for a long time. He decided to go more into the race car world, and so but he's still
Wait, did we just glance off
Yeah,
the
right.
race
When
car
to
world?
the race cars.
just like
NASCAR?
yeah.
We'll get
no,
back to this.
no.
Oh, okay, I was
Racing.
like, dang.
But I have that background in my family as well.
Oh.
My grandpa and my uncle race funny cars, and
Oh, cool.
my grandpa still like goes to Bonneville and just
The
broke
Devil's
some
Bowl and stuff
like works on cars that break the world speed records and stuff.
This is so much fun. Oh, this has got to happen.
So there will
Let's
be
go
car
drink in the
shows at
desert.
Funky Picnic because there's at least 5 cars, I think, in my family that can be at a car show. So
Nice.
like I can create a car show out of my family.
It's a car show, or as Samantha calls it, family reunion.
Yeah.
Nice. Well,
But with-
so I do want to. I want to see you in the brew.
Yeah,
at your
yeah,
house
I do
at
too.
some
sure.
point as
And-
well.
and
you guys need to play.
I want to. And so
start
many
working on these together.
I'm the only one of our founders that's quitting my job and going there full time because who needs engineering? But
we all do.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
you have like a really important job
mean-
now too.
I was like,
Are you kidding me?
You probably make drugs. With me. I have no idea. You're probably you're really important. You're losing something great.
I needed engineering to be able to get the financing to open a brewery.
Th-
It was very
This
helpful.
is the dream. This
Yes.
is the dream.
And the experience because like we were talking about, there's a lot of crossovers.
It's very
which
quintessential
until
to
you have
have
to
that
sell yourself to banks and investors and different things like that.
Yeah.
You figure out a lot of those so that you're like, no, I've never worked in a restaurant, and yes, I want to open a brewery and restaurant. But I've dealt with the FDA and audits every year, and so I can probably handle a health inspector.
Check,
Like,
check, and check.
Oh, okay.
That's
Here's
awesome.
some
Nice.
money.
It worked just like that, huh?
All it takes.
That's pretty much all it took.
Fantastic.
Why don't we all open
But
breweries?
Right?
but I think that's part of with Funky Picnic, with having that smaller system, was that we like to play around. So the Riverside Shootout, we've always liked that competition for Martin House because they invite people to come in and try and think of something that they haven't thought of, which now is even harder because they have 40 taps and beers on all the time. But
Golly.
the first year, and I think it's one that you have on our list to maybe even start with, we did a beer we called Border Disorder, which was a Belgian triple grain bill, but with a Saison yeast. So we basically, it became an imperial Saison because you had all these sugars.
Yeah.
So it was like 10% and it dried out. So it was nice and easy drinking. And we added pink peppercorn and prickly pear cactus.
That sounds delicious.
That's what I'm most excited about. Like,
Yeah.
there's maybe 6 or 7 recipes that they've already done, like proven people are looking forward to them, and they all sound really good to me. But I'm most excited if I have a
That
favorite.
one.
I'm most excited if I
Yeah.
have
That one.
Yeah.
Right on.
100%.
So,
right
but,
on.
but as homebrewers, we always like to play. So
Yeah.
doing the Thanksgiving inspired beer, which is the one we actually won it with. So we got top 10 with Border Disorder the first year, and I don't remember if it was the second or third year, but when we won with the Thanksgiving beer. But that's what we like doing, is playing with tons
Yeah.
of new stuff. Do a ranch dressing beer.
You have to like bring this to me and like
We've been
prove
trying-
me wrong that I'm making this face.
We've
to
been
it.
trying to convince on the homebrew scale to do this for years, and it
Right.
hasn't worked. But I'm like thinking
It's gonna
like
be
a
fun to watch.
an
That's the problem. You
easy
got to drink bigger.
parsley, right?
and easy cream ale. Yeah, we'll just do it on the 7 barrel, not the test batch.
That's the only thing you're missing.
This
Just
is the
go
best
in.
beer
It's
ever.
the flavors,
Commit.
though. I think you get like you do a cream ale base with some
Yeah.
dill and some of the other
you go.
spices, but like nice and light. It's just inspired. I mean, we didn't actually put Thanksgiving in a glass. We just took
true.
cranberry and
Yeah.
cinnamon
Yeah.
and carbonate. It was carbonated, but it was
what, like French oak?
yeah.
Yeah.
So there was
Yeah.
oak and all of that, and it was just supposed to be all the flavors of Thanksgiving or the holidays. We called it Drunk Uncle. Didn't think that could go through the TABC.
TBC approval. Yeah.
Although
One
we
day.
can call it that in the tap room because you don't have to have TABC approval. But also love the Holidays and Confused name that Martin House did with it. But yeah, we love doing that stuff. Although very rarely would we just do a Pilsner because we want to try all the fun stuff we can't find on the market. And so
Really
that's
wanna
kind of
spread
where
the play.
funky
we wanted to bring somebody in.
picnic.
It is.
Funky beers.
It is.
Fun key.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
We put the fun in picnic.
Yeah.
And the funky. Well, no, a good example is like this
Just keep it in
horchata
Gangnam
beer
style.
that we're drinking because, like, have you had Do you want some? Here,
Oh,
let's
here,
open
yeah,
it.
crack open another. I ran out of beer, so
I
I
know, right?
opened my own.
I thought also you
Sorry.
grab like a Pivo Pills on the way out,
Right.
and then you bring like this Imperial Milk Stout.
I
Because
know. We're getting real wild. We're getting real wild.
well, you can share it.
We can share.
Yeah.
That's
Well, we're going to drink
like,
this through is what's going to happen.
For example, like I tried it and it was delicious. I don't know if I was just like, oh my gosh, it's so good, and I had to keep on talking, but it does taste more like coffee and a little bit like horchata. Like it's not. It's inspired.
That's like
I
strong
guess
coffee.
is what you guys are gonna taste instead. I like talking about beer. I love beer. But well, it's Free Beer Friday.
I think
You still
on
like
I
that,
get what you're
ranch.
saying.
Well,
I know. I'm trying to be okay with it.
I want to take this video. You've got to bring her the ranch beer, and we've got to take video of Jen's
well, your face
while
did
she
it
tries
too. You were
I-
like,
I
know, both of you.
So we
I'm
both had to
always that
try
way,
it.
but I'm behind the camera. So
well,
there you go.
there's
Not today.
Oh, not today.
there are
guys.
people though that are like, oh, that sounds good.
Yeah.
You know,
That is
Oh, you again.
And you know
we're
everybody
in
would
Texas.
try it.
We're in the South.
We're-
Everybody's going to jump on that. Yeah.
everybody would try.
A
it.
ranch
I think that's
ale.
going to be a
just,
standard.
like you said,
Yeah.
some fried pickles, just dip it right in there.
Yeah, there you go.
Tell you what, man, a little bit of a chicken fried steak. You
Yeah.
pound that thing flat.
There you
Tell you
go.
what, batter flat, throw it in the oven.
And you
Right
guys
there will
have
sell.
a
It
kitchen?
will,
Are you
okay?
kidding me?
Yeah.
Fried
You are
pickles
forward.
with
That would be
a
so
ranch.
good.
Oh my gosh.
What if we did a fried pickle flight with different seasonings?
Oh, come on.
That actually sounds
Guys,
okay.
we're going to have to go over to Funky Picnic.
Now this sounds. You're
This is
making
gonna
me
have to
want
happen.
the beer just because like the pickles.
You want
and
the fried
every-
pickle
yeah,
flight?
Yeah.
It's really
ranch
just the
style
same
beer.
beer on all four, but you get different pickles.
Oh, yeah, the change is the pickles,
Yeah.
not the beer.
Yeah.
Like we gotta, nobody else is drinking it. We gotta get through the ranch beer. So we're gonna just give you four.
The
flights.
7-barrel ranch beer.
Yes. Yes.
Hurry up. Harper made another 7 barrels of this.
Well, I think about like Brain Dead. Brain Dead does the bacon flight, and it's 4
Yeah.
different.
Bacons with one.
Yeah, 4
beer.
different bacon. I was going to say
like 4
4
different
different
pigs?
animals.
Oh.
No, it's,
It is 4
it's
different
like,
animals though. It's like buffalo.
beef, pork,
Pick number one.
I think I had duck
duck,
bacon.
and lamb.
Yeah.
Yeah, with 4 different beers.
Yeah.
So why
So
not
it's Bed
4
and
different
Charlotte and-
pickles with the same beer?
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Makes
See
sense.
how this
It
beer
does.
changes
Yeah.
with
Each
these different styles. Yeah.
No, you,
like this
you really
idea.
have kind of touched on something because there's a lot of different things that we can do with beer that kind of open it up or make it taste, in different ways.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And so that's,
absolutely.
that's certainly one way that we'll be able to play, being able to work hand in hand with a kitchen like that, is being able to either present one beer with all these other different kind of foods or all these different things to kind of highlight different parts of what's already in the beer, or we can do, one grain bill, same hops, but then like change up the yeast. Like there's all sorts of like fun stuff.
He loves
that we can
yeast.
play with that.
This is
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
This is-
Keep on loving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to open it up immensely.
Yeah.
With a beer dinner, you can take a beer that people have known forever, and you
Right.
pair it with a certain
Tastes totally
spice or a certain food, and it's something
Yeah.
completely new in that pairing.
And
Have
that's
you? Oh, go ahead.
that's part of. So we have sandwiches, and that's going to be a main part of our menu. And it sounds simple. And there's a lot of people that will go in and they're like, yeah, we're going to do sandwiches, and they'll have a panini press and like a little back closet, and that's our kitchen. We have a full kitchen.
Flickering light.
We have like a 500 square foot. We have, double convection oven, full range griddle, fryer, all of this stuff. Beautiful kitchen. And
gonna come
that's
make
because
pancakes.
not only do we want to be flexible in that we can add other things in the future and we can really grow not only in the brew house but in the kitchen, it's also so that we can do things like beer dinners and completely leave that open to our chef to work with Harper and come in and create a new menu and maybe even create a new beer to match something that's going to be on that menu. And, that's the debut of that beer is at this beer dinner, and just really play with that. I think a lot of the way Texas beer laws have made breweries start in the past, and things have gotten better, but it takes so long to open a brewery that by the time the laws change, it takes 3, 4, 5 years before you actually see those changes in the marketplace. And we're starting to see some of those from some of the changes years ago.
That's amazing.
So it'll be nice to see once we, knock on wood, get this beer to go for production breweries, how they can actually change their businesses grow as well. But you know, being able to do that, and for us, that because we're coming after some of these laws have been changed, we can do that, and really more growing to this being a local place and not being just a hot warehouse where you go and drink 3 beers in 4 hours, 2 or 3 hours or something like that, that maybe you can bring grandma to, or you can bring the kids to, and
That's
really
definitely where
create
it's
it more of that
changing.
European.
Yeah, it's changing for sure. And like, there's other states around the U.S. like Portland, they like require food at the brewery, which is an amazing idea. I was like, this is the smartest idea ever. You should always have food at a brewery. Why are you serving beer without the food? And this is fantastic that you're just making it happen here. And I love that. And I feel like kids now are so open. Like, of course, you know, here in Denton, actually everywhere, Petacolas, all the places that I've been to, you've always been able to like walk in with a kid.
Right.
And it's no big deal.
Right.
Past 8, maybe not a bit, but still, like, you always see kids, and I love that idea.
Yeah.
We need to create that it's not, that it is a family friendly place.
Yeah, there's
not a stigma.
Yeah,
no,
there's
there's not a stigma of
associated
beer.
with it.
It's because it's amazing, and it's European is how it goes, and you bring everybody there.
Well, and we'll have a kids menu.
Mac and
so-
cheese. I'm just
Well,
kidding.
no, I mean, like in
Mac and cheese and
sandwiches,
chicken
right? We
strips.
can
Right.
have some really good PB&J, like better than even what you make at home, where it
You
is.
make
What?
sodas
No, forget
or
you.
something that
I
like
make
a drink.
the greatest PB&J.
You want to come work at
All right,
Pumpkin?
give me your
I'm on
recipe.
it.
Right?
Yeah, I'll make it.
Lay it out. What's your
Hey,
recipe?
my
How do you
kids
do it?
say I make the greatest one ever. All right.
Well, have you heard of
You also
fairy?
have like a
Challenge me.
greatest
Have you
dad
heard
mode,
of
too?
fairy
Yeah, I
bread?
do.
What is fairy bread?
Fairy bread is from Australia, and it's
What is this?
white bread with butter and sprinkles.
But upside down.
Like,
And it goes the other way.
Wait, what? What are you saying to me right now?
I like,
Excuse
it's
me.
in the southern hemisphere, so it goes the other way.
Oh, okay. I was
upside
like,
down.
I don't understand. What's
It
upside
falls
down?
counterclockwise.
Sorry.
It's okay. I just
Sorry.
didn't understand it.
Continue.
So it's starting to gain some popularity in the U.S., but it's a big Australian thing. So like I
Like
listen
Vegemite.
to, but better.
Okay, yeah. I was like, is it bad? Like Vegemite?
But like I've listened to a restaurant marketing podcast, and the guy was from Australia, and he was like, "Hey, you know, my daughter, where do you want to go tonight?" And she's like, "Can we go to the place with the fairy bread?" And he's like, "They just got my business from the family of 4 because we went to the place with the fairy bread because my daughter wanted to go there." And I was
Wow.
like, "Can you imagine if that place was a brewery?"
And then he said, "That's not a knife. This is a knife."
Ah.
Spoony knife.
Do you make fairy beer?
Yeah. No.
No.
You could go to a collective for that.
Oh, yeah, you could. They did make some
It'll be so
sparkly
sparkly.
beer.
Yeah.
You know, they did some weird stuff too, like the cup
With
of noodles. That's
spirulina.
one of my favorite.
Yeah.
And I mean,
That is a
there's-
really, really good goza. That's
That
a
is.
really
I
great
love
beer.
that. And
It's delicious.
Every
feel
time I
like-
drink that, I think I need sushi.
Yeah. For sure.
It just
I haven't had it with
feels
sushi
like
yet.
the perfect pairing.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Kind of
Some
spice
ramen
up
and-
a little bit
Or
of
like
tartness
beef.
to a nice
Yeah, dude.
light white rice.
Yeah.
And there's so
The
much
Korean
great thing
barbecue.
about
I'm
like
getting so hungry right now,
I know,
guys.
right?
Oh.
well, like and honestly, like if we're talking about being able to pair,
Whoa! Whoa!
Sorry.
We just kicked a mic.
I kicked it. I was moving my cord out of the way.
We've been
sorry,
spilling
Jake.
beer and kicking
I know.
cameras. Oh
sorry,
my
I'm
gosh.
sorry.
You're moving
Me
your
and her, we're so well behaved.
Yeah.
You know,
Never
you guys
invite
are
us
just going
back.
crazy. Yeah, they are not. But
Oh yeah, it's just on us. But
Yeah.
y'all have been fantastic.
Yes, we-
Thank you.
We've done
And
anything.
taco.
Yeah, taco's
And
been
taco.
Best behaved.
Yeah,
She's been
I
so
would
good.
expect she would like hit the
No,
camera,
she's
but
been
you
so
did.
good. She's a good girl.
She's a good girl.
Yeah.
She's a good girl.
Okay,
Sorry,
so
what?
anyway.
So one of the things that I'm really excited. If we're talking about being able to like pair food and like and work within the kitchen, there's like a couple things that really excite me about that. And one of them is like if you've ever read any of like Garrett Oliver's books or like heard any of his lectures,
Yeah, yeah.
like
From
just
Brooklyn Brewing. Yeah.
like how he talks about how there's just so many flavors that are going on in beer, and a lot of people will automatically go to wine if they're pairing foods with wine, but there's just a lot more happening with beer, from like caramel, from
Thank
Maillard,
you.
from like carbonic
Thank you.
acid, from like hop bitterness. There's citrus notes. There's
Mm-hmm.
earth spice notes, bread notes. There's all these different things that are happening.
it's a more complex product
It is.
as
Right.
well compared to wine.
And if
Yeah,
you're
of
doing
course
like
it's
a-
going to be the case.
Yeah, and if you're doing like something like a thick hearty brunch. You know, you can have like a
Mimosa.
you know, like a mimosa or like a big like an effervescent Hefeweizen
Yeah,
or
ooh,
something like
yeah,
that.
that's
You know, to be able
perfect.
to like cut through. It's that carbonic acid
Yeah.
that can cut through all this rich, fatty, delicious stuff that we get with brunch.
You went to school for that.
Yeah, you
But-
did. The long name of the
Carbonic acid, yeah.
certification.
Yeah, I got a certification in intensive brewing sciences and
Yes.
engineering. Take that, Mom!
Yes, you got it all together. Perfect.
You can't keep
one
laying
You did
down
it.
your degree in the middle of this.
Right.
Golly.
But secondly, what I'm really excited about being able to work with this kitchen is as like a completely right-brained brewer. There's left-brained brewers and there's right-brained brewers, right? And what's great about the entire thing is there's an intersection there. And so being very right-brained brewer, I like being able to have kind of the boundaries. Like, all right, so we're working with this kitchen, and so we have to be able to work with this ingredient, with this ingredient. Here's your project.
Yeah.
I've got this food item that I want to pair with. How can you do that? And so rather than
ranch
just
dressing.
going in there, some ranch dressing, rather than just going in there and just, dancing around and taking my shirt off and saying,
Right.
we're brewing with saws today, and then, running out.
Putting a beard hair in there.
Yeah.
You saw our recipes. We use saws a lot.
It's my favorite hop. I
Yeah.
love saws so much. I want to write a song to saws hops. And it goes a little something like this.
Oh, there's Mike. No, I totally agree with that. Just the flavor of beer. I've always explained it as a bouquet. Like you
Yes.
have so many different flowers and colors and everything that you can put into a bouquet. And I feel like that is what beer brings life.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
Right on.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Well,
I'm also a poet. No, I'm just kidding. It goes a
Nice.
little something like this. No, I'm just kidding. No, I can't sing.
oh, wait, hold on.
Okay.
But you feel like you can ground yourself
Yes.
by what the kitchen can do.
Yes.
See that? Yeah. Again,
100%.
one of those problems when I'm hanging out with a chef. Like I can do whatever I want.
Like, but what do I do?
I can do whatever I want too. How do we find a concrete 3-course meal?
Right.
Yeah.
They give
And-
you like this line is like, here it is.
Oh,
Now
right.
follow this, and you can have
Right.
some fun, but make sure you do this.
Right. So even if it was like we're doing a bacon pairing, it's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
all right, there's my bumpers, right?
Yeah.
That's what I can work with it. That's what I can work
It's like
against.
bowling with the
I
bumpers.
was
up.
about to say like a child in bowling.
Yes,
In a lot of ways, I am a child.
it's okay. We all are. Never grow up.
Hashtag never grow up.
Yes.
Hashtag front face.
Hashtag-
So, I mean, exactly what I said. Being able to work within those boundaries and being able to work, with somebody, I think is going to be really awesome. And, for as many wild ideas as I might have and as many different things that I want to try, I really dig being able to just come back to one thing. It's like, all right, I can do this one thing. I'm going to try that and then build from that. You know what I mean?
right on.
Great. I can't
Right
wait
on.
to try the beer. You guys are making, except the ranch.
Right.
You're gonna try it.
I'm
gonna
gonna
do this.
try it.
We're
I'm
gonna
gonna
do this
try
video.
it. We're
This
gonna
has
try
gotta
it,
happen.
but I'm excited to try the peppercorn and that beer. I love all of the ingredients that you guys are planning on putting in these
Yeah.
beers. It sounds fantastic, and
It's going to be good.
there's food involved. So
Yeah.
Oh,
And,
And food, it's gonna be so delicious.
and one of the things we talked about when we were first talking to Harper is I'm left brain engineer. Hey. But so he was like, yeah, sometimes you have to kind of bring me back in. I kind of get all the way out there. But I think that's kind of
perfect.
one of the things,
Yeah, I was
even
about
though
to say that's where all the fun is.
Yeah.
Come on. Okay.
Well, I
keep
mean,
no,
going.
it's perfect
you
that they
gotta
have
keep-
each other.
yeah, you
gotta
to
keep- okay,
bounce
to
off
work.
of.
Yeah.
Right.
Because she's gonna keep him in check, and you're gonna
Yeah.
make her
Well, I'm-
creative. It's
Right.
fantastic.
and
Nice.
I'm a little
Gonna
bit
make
more right brained than most engineers, which is why I can talk to people, be sociable, and so yeah, but so
You're also a girl, so it makes everything
it
better.
helps,
You know.
yeah. But yeah, the we have 12 to 15 beers that we want to have on tap at all times. So you could go really, like we did on the homebrew style and do all the crazy ranch beers and all that stuff. But one of the biggest things that I also like to look at is that, like you were saying, there's so many flavors. This is great. by
Yeah,
the way.
it
This
is.
horchata,
Traditions did
Oh,
a
yeah.
I always
fantastic
love
job at this.
everything they do.
Oh,
Yeah.
Can I hold that up anyway?
It
So
is
good.
so good.
Oh. Cheers.
I mean, it's
There it
like
is.
coffee, chocolate, like
Or
delicious. Yeah.
So I think
No, leave it right there.
when
There
we
it
look
is.
at the craft beer industry, you have what 12% of the beer market
Look, you
is
can drink
craft beer?
local too.
I think like Texas, maybe.
No, I think nationally it's 13,
Nationally?
12, 13%.
Really? Oh, I didn't see the zoom in there. Oh, I could have moved the can. I'm sorry.
It's gonna be great footage. Well, I said drink local, so it's perfect.
All right, I'm drinking another way. Continue.
But when
Continue.
so
Oh, I'm
we're
gonna be
both part
so
of the
good
Pink
for the
Boots
damn awards
Society.
tonight.
Yes.
And I know
It's
y'all
happening.
had them on. I
Need
wasn't
the
able to
dang
make
awards.
it, but Jazz was awesome. And when they had the conference a few weeks ago down in Austin, Julia Hertz from the Brewers Association came and and she one of the things I loved was when you were talking about wine and pairing that. She said there's 12,000 wineries out there and nobody's complaining about that. So we're saying there's a craft beer bubble and there's all these
so
wineries.
many craft breweries. My goodness.
There's like 6,000.
I'm just excited that like Texas is finally getting this availability to craft beer and this industry, because you go, like I was saying, you go other places and you go to like Alaska and there's literally one on every corner. I love that. That is like the micro breweries, which I think are fantastic because it creates a sense of community for everybody to go to. There may be 5 people that go to this microbrewery. That's fine. There's 5 people that go like every day.
As long as
It's
they're
great.
paying the bills.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, yes, that part too. But like, and there's always rotating, and you know, sometimes they're open like 2 days a week, and they brew on the other
Well,
days.
I think like whether it's 12, 15%, whatever, that's of the beer drinkers that are already drinking beer. So we're already not catching those, but you have the wine drinkers. You have the people that, oh, I don't like beer because they think
Hold up.
beer is light beer or they think it's
Yeah.
IPAs, which is fine for some people.
yeah.
But that was the other thing Julia Hurt said at the Pink Boots Society conference. She said there's 166 beer styles. Like there is a flavor for everyone.
Yeah,
Like you wouldn't
absolutely.
expect this horchata beer
That-
if all you know is light beer or think
Absolutely.
craft beer as IPAs.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to try and do is by having the food element, you bring in people that are already comfortable in a restaurant and then they're more willing to try new things. And then they're like, oh, I do like that.
Right on.
So I think later we're going to have some blueberry waffle.
like the blueberry fortune.
So
That was what
not,
inspired it.
yeah.
Oh.
No, I can come help. I want to come help. Like I'll help you brew it.
It's a Belgian triple. We've already
Ooh.
so it actually was second in the Riverside Shootout this year.
Nice.
Yep.
And so we'll have that. It has blueberry, maple syrup, and cinnamon.
It's such a great taste, and like mine ended up tasting kind of like sangria, and so girls were going nuts over it, and I was just like, "That's fantastic."
And you're
because
drinking an IPA,
And
everybody.
yeah, I was like, by the way, it's an IPA because right now you can always
Surprise!
there's 20 pounds
Bring them
of
in
hops
with the
in
music
there.
and hit it with the
Yeah. There's like so many hops, you have no idea, but it's just so fantastic to open that up to like a female because they're gonna be like, I don't like IPAs, and I'm like, you just haven't had the right one.
Yep.
Well, and
because
I get
as soon
that
as you do-
continuously.
Yeah.
At the Monk, people are like, I don't like X, Y, or Z.
Yeah, there was
And
someone there
I'll-
earlier today, and I was just like, huh.
Oh, I
wanted him to try
that.
everything, and I was
When somebody says like, especially, oh, I don't like beer.
why?
I get
That's
so
my
excited.
favorite.
Why are
Like,
you
okay,
here?
come and hang out.
That's
well,
why I'm
no,
opening
that
a
doesn't
brewery.
matter. They're there now, and they're willing to experiment. And I just start shoving tasters. Like, all right, try this.
Yeah,
Try.
dude.
Do you like coffee? Yeah, I like
Do you
coffee.
need an Uber?
Try this Three Nations horchata. Right?
I'm gonna buy you a ride home. Is what's gonna happen. Yeah.
You're like, you just had 10%
Right.
tasters.
Have fun getting. You're gonna get an Uber,
Right. How do you like your eggs in the morning? Because it's a great brunch place.
right?
But that
So
is that's
It's
respectful.
perfect.
I always
So
say the
nice.
same thing. My
So
favorite
kind.
things for somebody to tell me they don't like beer, and I'm like, oh,
Finally,
so excited to
My
help you
heart-
find a
my
beer
heart
you like.
skips a
challenge
beat.
accepted.
Yeah. And I think that's the great thing of kind of where the beer industry is going
Absolutely.
right now. Is now, especially here in Texas, having, laws that kind of open up some of that. Of
Absolutely.
the availability of the craft brewers that are open.
Okay, so
And-
I want to hit on this too.
Yeah.
That you have kind of mentioned Pink Boots a couple of times because
Mm-hmm.
you guys are pretty heavy in brewing, right? Heavy in legislation.
Mm-hmm.
we should give the Pink Boots team has been on here before, but some of these folks may not have seen that before. Do you want to
back
give a
and watch it.
rundown?
Jazz was really good on that episode. I wasn't able to make it, but she did awesome.
Yeah, she did fantastic. But do you want to give a rundown on the Pink Boots Society as well? So I feel like that's pretty darn crucial, not only to the beer industry, but to most industries.
I'm brewing
right?
one of our Pink Boots collaboration brews tomorrow at Hop and Sting with Betsy Good. One of our female brewers here in DFW.
Yeah, sweet Betsy.
Yeah.
She's on
was
a
that
couple
last
few
week?
No, a couple weeks ago.
Couple of weeks ago, yeah. God,
With Union Bear,
So
she's one of my top check-in pictures right now.
yeah, that's awesome.
Nice.
That was a good one.
Nice.
So Pink Boots Society is a global organization now.
Global?
It's now
That's
global.
awesome.
It's been 12 years ago. Terry Ferrendorf started this organization with just a few friends that she knew, and it was women in the brewing industry. And she wanted to open that up and help say, hey, you're not alone, because it was a very male-dominated industry. And open up, they started the first year, I think, with one scholarship. So it's a nonprofit, and they bring in the money that they bring in from dues or from fundraisers all go to helping educate through scholarships. So it can be and if y'all don't know, there are brewing education classes everywhere. We have one here in DFW.
Yeah. East side, right?
Eastfield.
Eastfield, thank you.
Eastfield,
Oh,
yes.
sorry. East side.
East side.
But there's a
East
lot
side will
in,
totally educate you as well. Yes.
you
Not
have
formally.
Siebel Institute in Chicago. You have different colleges that have brewing programs in Portland and in California and San Diego, in Denver, and all of these they do scholarships for. They even send some women to Germany to go through like a tour of Germany and go to all the breweries there. And so that's really what it's about. But what on the local level is we have a North Texas local chapter, and we get to kind of meet a lot of times. We're on the other side of it is that we are a little bit more out there and the face of our businesses, but a lot of women are actually the behind the scenes people at their businesses. Maybe they work in social media, and so they're the ones actually putting everything out there, but you don't see them at the Brewers Guild meetings and different things like that. But they're just as interested in beer. That's why they're in this industry. And
the
it's
reps and everybody.
recognizing them, getting them more face forward, getting them networked.
I do think even for folks out in the market, they may not know people like Brittany from 903. They may not know Katie Davis from
Brittany's
Noble
awesome.
Ray.
Yeah.
Both of them, by the way. But those ladies come and see us at the bars, and they talk about beers. But folks out there may not know them as well. Yeah.
And it is still a male-dominated industry. So I'm from engineering, and I'm used to that.
Yeah.
And my dad's a firefighter.
Same situation.
My dad's a firefighter, so I grew up like around all the guys at the firehouse here in Denton. And so I'm kind of used to that, and I kind of just put myself out there and do whatever I need to do. But you have women that don't feel as comfortable stepping up, and so then that kind of is where we can help support them and get them those connections and introduce them. And that's kind of one of the big things is so women are now about 33% of the actual craft beer drinkers.
Yeah, awesome.
But in the industry, we don't have numbers, but I'm pretty sure it's less than 10%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it can be really intimidating. And even here in DFW, Betsy's one of the few female commercial brewers that we have. And so just trying to get them educated. Now we have a new program where we can actually create local scholarships, and our local chapter has some funds that we can create things locally. And so that's really any fundraisers we do, more of that goes back to us specifically, because it can be hard to get those national scholarships when you're against people from all over the world.
Yeah.
So we really want to help foster that, getting your Cicerone beer server or certified Cicerone level or BJCP, helping sponsor some of the costs, because that can be expensive, going to Eastfield College or whatever it is that our members want to do, really just helping support those women. Because I have Seth from Denton County Brewing Company, or I have so many different owners of breweries that come and they're like, how can we get more women in our brewery?
Yeah.
They it's out there. The industry is very supportive and is definitely wanting more of that. And I think now that we have more female drinkers, we can get more people in the industry, but we have to help educate them.
Well,
Yeah.
what can drinkers do to support Pink Boots?
So you can go to pinkbootsociety.org and you can actually donate either to the national or to the local chapters. But you can also, we're about to brew several for International Women's Day is usually when it goes around. There's tomorrow we're brewing with Hop and Sting. Martin House is also going to do a Pink Boots collaboration beer. And then once we get up and going, Funky Picnic's going to do one as well. So we
Right on.
bought
Heck yeah.
this
Right
Pink
on.
Boots hop blend, and we're going to brew a beer. That money, just helping buy that beer, that money helps go back. So you can just drink and help Pink Boots.
What?
Easy.
All you have
So
to do is
easy.
buy it.
Just
buy
order
the
the
beer.
the PBS.
Oh my gosh.
Come
Just
look
buy
for the
beer.
Pink Boots beers. It's going to be a little while before they come out, but look at it at Hop and Sting, Martin House, and eventually Funky Picnic. Ours will be a little later just because we need electricity.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Because first things first.
We're still under construction, right?
Luckily, we have friends that let us store the hops because we don't have a cold room.
Off, that is
Thanks,
nice.
Collective.
Shout out
Okay.
Collective.
So, are we going to do some more drinking now?
I think so.
Is that the plan?
I'm down.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
Let's
dogs.
do this.
Yeah.
All right, and guys, if you're watching this right now, well, you need to get up here right now and come hang out
Yeah.
and do some drinking. That's
With some Belgian
that's
waffle
key.
beer.
What? Wait, what samples did you bring tonight?
So we'll have the Belgian waffle. It's a Belgian triple with blueberry, cinnamon, and maple syrup.
Kidding me right now.
I didn't know you.
And then
I want to try.
and then we'll also have our Super Freaker, which is a 5 chili double IPA.
It's super freaky.
Yeah.
Oh,
So it's a 9% double IPA, but it has let's see if I can remember all 5 chilies. It's always a test. Jalapeno,
Uno.
red Fresno,
Dos.
Serrano,
Trace.
habanero,
4.
and hatch chilies.
got it like a champion.
That sounds
Really good counting.
so good.
That's why we hired him.
Right? I'm glad we can count.
Don't do any more
How
than
many
5.
hops did I put in there? I don't
Bilingual
know.
counting.
Yeah. But if
got
you've had
sons.
something like the habanero sculpin, it's really spicy because of that habanero, but it's a single IPA. So we actually upped that with the double IPA. So you have more sugars and more hops
Yeah.
to help off
Nice.
balance.
Okay.
And then you have not just the spiciness, but you have more of the vegetal flavors from some of the other chilies. So it's a really good balance.
It's interesting that you bring that up because not a lot of people know that they're kind of scared of double IPAs. And I was like, no, if you want like a sweeter one,
Yeah.
go for the double IPA. Nobody, they're like, oh no, it's going to be too hoppy. I'm like, no, you got to up the malt.
Double-
We're making the IPA better.
Double doesn't mean more
No,
hoppy.
it
I mean, it
means,
is.
like,
it
it is.
has more hops, but it
But
has
it's
to have
just-
more
It's in
sugar.
the
To
malt
balance
bill.
it
Yeah,
out.
sugar is gonna.
And double IPAs are my favorite.
I think they're a lot more balanced.
Me too.
Than
Yeah.
what a lot of people. I mean,
just a single.
if
than a
it's
lot
gonna
of
be a
standard, like
good,
West
yeah,
Coast light IPAs.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point. Well, let's go drink some.
So, yeah, we may have a
delicious
few other
beer.
things, but we'll definitely have
Oh.
those too. So
Nice. Okay. So you
come-
guys need to get down here.
come drink.
If you're watching this right now, just turn off your computer, close your phone down, and get to the Welcome Center and come start drinking. Like right now. Right now it's happening.
There were kids out there, so I was waving. They don't get to drink any beer,
Oh.
but I was just waving.
I'm sorry,
'cause
guys.
They wanted to look
You-
at us.
You
That
can't.
dad looks familiar to me.
You
I
can't
think
drink.
I know that dad.
Dad can drink.
We're gonna
Dad, come back.
Gotta go
Yeah.
chase that
Right.
dad.
Hey, Dad.
All right,
Yo,
let's go.
pops.
Let's go do some more drinking.
Let's do it. Cheers.
All right, cheers, guys. Oh,
Cheers, everyone.
happy Friday.
Yes.
Oh,
Good
that's
Friday.
it.
That was so
So good.
slurpy.
Well, thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to check out DentonRadio.com for new Denton artists and where they're playing next. While you're surfing the internet, make sure you check out our friends Classic of Denton at ClassicofDenton.com.